Hi there, Dan Page here. Thank you very much for joining me again. And a special thanks to those of you who went and watched my video last week where I explained my 5-step process that I've used to generate over $500 million in sales from my clients and from my companies over the past several decades. And also to those of you who filled out my survey week before last, where I asked a lot of questions about how I can best serve you. That was incredibly helpful. And I'm taking all your answers into account as I'm moving forward to do the best I can to generate a lot of revenue together. So as promised, today I'm going to explain how I launched Funding Strategy Partners. For those of you who don't know us, that's my company along with my partner where we lend money to small businesses nationwide. And we launched this company 4.5 years ago with no customers, no revenue, no website, no contacts in the industry. All we had was an idea, and it was up to me to be able to drive new business in the door. So it was a complete startup, not unlike the folks that come to you looking for money. So I wasn't worried whatsoever because I knew I was going to use my 5-step process and I knew it would be incredibly successful. So I'm going to jump right in and explain that. As you might recall, the very first step is to figure out what you want coming out of the gate, what you're looking for. And so for me, that was really clear. I wanted my first client. I didn't have any clients yet that we could lend money to, so that was my first goal. And the next step, which is the really important one, is to find those that can help you. So when I looked at this, I thought, who are the folks out there that already have relationships with my target market? Who are the companies that are already doing business with lots of small businesses, lots of entrepreneurs and small corporations and LLCs in this country looking for money? And so when I started to look into that a little bit more, I did a quick little Google search, and it became very apparent that my target market here was SBDCs. If you haven't heard of what an SBDC is, it stands for Small Business Development Center. There's one in every state. In fact, there's one in your state. And their entire mission is to help small businesses, to help them with their growth, to help them with their financial planning, to help everything that they can do to be able to make these businesses a success so that they are an economic contributor to the local economy. So I reached out to one of the SBDCs in the Northeast, actually in New Jersey, and I called up the executive director and got an appointment scheduled and then asked her a few quick questions. So the very first quick question was, do you have small businesses that you work with that are struggling for money, they're expanding and they need expansion capital, but they don't know where to turn because it's confusing and they don't qualify for a bank loan? And she said, absolutely, we do. In fact, you just described my client. Why do you want to know? And I said, well, I have an idea. I said, what if? And we're going to come back to what if maybe in a future session here because it's a really important question. So I said, what if I were able to do a webinar, a presentation, where I could explain to your clients the whole myriad of funding choices, the differences between factoring and asset-based funding and equipment leasing and all the different types of funding that might be available to them, and sort of sort everything out for them so they don't have to figure it out on their own. Would that be helpful? She's like, well, yeah, of course that would be helpful. Why would you do that for me? I said, well, the one request that I have is at the end of it, once I've described all these different models, could I also describe my model if I promise not to make it a pitch for my company, but I just describe it along with everyone else's? And she said, yes, that would be okay, as long as you do promise not to make it a pitch. So we agreed on that, and I set about my work. So what I did is I just put together a quick PowerPoint presentation, and bear in mind, you know more right now than I knew at that time. But I put together a quick PowerPoint presentation explaining all the different types of funding, what's good, what's bad, when it might work for you, when it might not work for you. And at the end of the presentation, I also described our model along the exact same auspices. So it's a great presentation. We had a bunch of folks on the line. And then the very next day, I started receiving some inquiries. People had some additional questions for me. And one of those companies actually was looking for funding that was a perfect fit for our business model. So lo and behold, I landed my very first client within 1 day after that presentation. Technically, it might have been 2 weeks, but right away, I had a response, and we just launched our business. The ink was still dry on our formation documents, and I had my very first client that we generated a $90,000 funding for, and we actually ended up funding them several times. So it worked wonderfully, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is that you can do the same thing. You already know just as much as I did, probably a lot more than I did at that time, about the small business funding arena. You don't necessarily have to reach out to a small business development center. You can if you want to. You can reach out to the local chamber of commerce, any other local business groups. You can absolutely do that and be able to generate some significant interest and present and generate that trust and that reciprocity and that feeling of friendship by genuinely helping other people. So if you're stuck, you're trying to meet your quota, you're trying to generate more revenue, there's something you can do right now, today. Within a few days, you can have a presentation together, and it works. I've done it a number of times. So I hope that's helpful, and I guarantee you it does work. And as a segue to that, I want to talk to you about, real quick, about what it is that we're doing going forward so that I can help you even further. If you've watched my emails for a while, you know that I've been working quite hard, and I have a team of programmers and developers that's been helping me to create a lead sharing site where all of us can come together. So if I have leads that I can't fund, I can put them out to you. If you have leads you can't fund, you can put them out to others, and all of us can share in leads that we can't do ourselves that others might be able to, and generate significant revenue out of our unfunded leads, and also to be able to drive new customers to ourselves by being able to effectively network with others in the industry. So that's all built and it's ready to go, and I'm going to be launching it on Wednesday. I'll be sending an email out tomorrow announcing it, and I'm going to be doing a live webinar where you can just jump on and ask me any questions you want, any frustrations you've had with the way we've done it so far, how it's going to work. That's what I'm here for, so that I can help work with you and generate millions, tens of millions, hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars together of new loans going forward for businesses throughout the United States just by helping each other. So I hope this has been great for you, and I look forward to our next time together. Thanks a lot.